When you wake up in the morning, have you ever felt something quiet inside your chest? Something small but warm, something like a tiny flame trying to speak to you. Some people call it hope. Some people call it courage. But today, on Fluent English Journey, we will call it something very simple, something very human. We will call it self-belief. And this, my friend, is the story of how self-belief can change your life, even when everything outside feels heavy, confusing, or too difficult to handle. So take a deep breath. Sit back. Relax. Listen slowly. Let the English flow into your ears like soft waves touching the beach. This is not just a listening practice. Not just a story. This is a journey, your journey towards understanding how powerful your mind can be when you start trusting yourself. Let me tell you a story. It begins on a normal day, in a normal town, with a normal person, someone who felt very much like you. This person is named Rian. He is not a superhero. He is not famous. He does not have a special talent. He is just someone who wants a better life, someone who wants to grow, someone who wants to believe, but doesn't always know how. One morning, Rian wakes up feeling tired even though he slept all night. The room feels quiet. The world feels slow. He sits at the edge of his bed and looks at the floor, thinking about his life, thinking about the mistakes he made, thinking about all the times he tried and failed and tried again and failed again. Maybe you have felt like this too. A little empty, a little lost, a little unsure about what to do next. Outside the window, the sun is rising. The sky is turning soft orange. But Rian doesn't feel the beauty. He only feels the heaviness inside his chest. He can hear his own thoughts whispering things like, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I can't do anything right. Maybe I should stop trying. Have you ever heard these voices in your head? Those small, painful whispers that tell you to give up? Those thoughts are not the truth. They are only old echoes from difficult moments in your life. But in that moment, Rian doesn't know this. He believes those voices. He believes those doubts. And because of that, he feels trapped. But something happens. On that same morning, while he is sitting on the bed, his phone makes a small sound. Ding! A notification. Rian sighs. He doesn't want to check it. But slowly, he picks up his phone. And he sees something simple, something small, but something that will change everything. It is a short message from an old friend. Just 3 words. I believe in you. Rian stares at the message. He reads it once. Twice. Again. His friend didn't write anything else. No long speech. No big explanation. Just those 3 small words. I believe in you. And suddenly, something tiny wakes up inside Rian. Something soft. Something warm. Something that feels like a very small light turning on in a very dark room. He doesn't smile yet. He doesn't cry. He just sits there, feeling something new. He doesn't know it yet, but this is the beginning of his transformation. Because that day, Rian decides to do one thing. Only one. He decides to leave his room, take a slow walk outside, and simply breathe. Nothing more. Nothing less. But sometimes, my friend, the smallest step in the right direction becomes the biggest step of your life. When he walks out of his house, the world feels different. The air feels cool. The streets feel alive. People are moving, talking, living their lives. And suddenly, Rian feels something, a feeling he hasn't felt in a long time. Possibility. Have you ever felt possibility? That moment where you think, maybe things can change. Maybe things can get better. Maybe I can try again. Rian begins walking slowly. He watches the world around him. A mother holding her child's hand. A boy riding a bicycle too fast. A shopkeeper arranging fruits. A group of school children laughing about something silly. Life is happening all around him. And he realizes something simple. Life didn't stop. So maybe he shouldn't stop either. But as he walks, a question rises in his mind, a question that shakes him a little. He asks himself, what do I want my life to become? Have you ever asked yourself this question? Truly asked it? Not the quick answer. Not the usual, I want to be successful or I want a better job. No, the deeper answer. The one that comes from your heart, not your mind. Rian walks slowly. He feels his heartbeat. He listens. And deep inside, he finds a very simple truth, one that surprises him. He doesn't want a perfect life. He doesn't want a rich life. He doesn't want a life that other people admire. He just wants a life where he trusts himself, where he wakes up and feels proud of the choices he makes. A life where he believes that he is enough. So he keeps walking. And then something interesting happens. A small moment. A moment that looks like nothing from the outside, but changes everything from the inside. Rian walks past a small park. And in the middle of the park, he sees an old man trying to plant a young tree. The soil is hard. The sun is strong. The man is sweating. His hands are shaking. But he keeps digging. Slowly. Patiently. Carefully. Rian stops and watches. The old man notices him and smiles gently. Rian says, "It looks difficult." The old man laughs softly and replies, "Everything looks difficult at the beginning. But that's the funny thing about beginnings. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to happen." Rian feels something shift inside him. The old man continues digging and he adds, "This tree will take years to grow. I may not even live long enough to sit under its shade. But I plant it anyway, because something inside me tells me to try." Rian asks, "Why though? Why try if you may never see the result?" The old man smiles again, a soft, warm smile. "Because my boy," he says slowly, "every small effort you make becomes a seed. And seeds don't ask for permission to grow. They just grow. All they need is someone who believes in them." Rian feels his breath catch. The words feel heavy but gentle. They fall deep inside him like soft rain falling on dry soil. The old man doesn't know it, but in that moment, he is not just planting a tree. He is planting belief inside Rian. And that is the moment our story truly begins. Because this is when Rian decides something powerful. Not loud, not dramatic, not big, but powerful. He decides to try again. He doesn't know what the future will bring. He doesn't know how long it will take. He doesn't know how many times he will fall. But he decides to take one small step every day to become the version of himself who believes. And right now, as you listen to this story, maybe you can feel that same small flame inside your chest. That quiet warmth. That tiny voice whispering, "You can grow too. You can try again. You can rise." This journey is not only Rian's journey. It is also yours. Because self-belief is not something that arrives in one day. It is something that grows slowly like a tree. And today, you and I are planting the first seed. But this is only the beginning. In the next part of our story, everything will change. Rian will meet new challenges, new fears, new doubts, and new moments of strength he never knew he had. So before we move forward, take a slow breath. Feel the moment. Feel the story. Feel your own heart speaking softly. Because the journey of self-belief is about to go deeper. The next morning, Rian wakes up earlier than usual. The sky outside is still soft and blue, like the world is waking up slowly with him. For the first time in a long time, he doesn't feel heavy. He doesn't feel lost. He feels curious. And sometimes, curiosity is the first sign that something inside you has started to change. He sits up on his bed and thinks about the old man in the park. The man planting that small tree. The man whose hands were shaking but still working. The man who said something so simple but so powerful, "Beginnings don't need to be perfect. They just need to happen." Those words repeat in Rian's mind like a soft echo. And they make him wonder, what would happen if I try again today? What small step can I take? What can I do to grow, even a little? But as soon as he stands up, something else arrives. Something cold. Something dark. Something familiar. Doubt. It comes suddenly, like a shadow slipping into the room. His mind begins whispering again. What if you fail again? What if you try and nothing changes? What if everyone else moves forward and you stay the same? What if you're just not good enough? These whispers feel heavy. They feel real. They feel strong. And for a moment, Rian freezes. It feels like there is a wall in front of him. A huge, tall, impossible wall made of doubt. Have you ever felt this? A moment where you want to move forward, but something inside your mind pulls you backward? A moment where your inner voice becomes your enemy? This is the wall many people face when they try to change their life. Not a real wall. Not a physical wall. But a mental wall that feels just as strong. Rian sits on the edge of his bed again. The excitement he felt a moment ago starts to disappear. He feels the old heaviness returning. The hope becomes smaller. The flame inside him starts shaking. But then something surprising happens. His phone lights up again. Another message. This time, it's a simple reminder he wrote to himself months ago, something he forgot he had written. The message says, "You promise to take care of yourself." Rian stares at the words. Slowly, he breathes in. Slowly, he breathes out. And he realizes something important. Self-belief is not a straight line. It goes up. It goes down. It gets strong. It gets weak. Some days you feel powerful. Some days you feel afraid. And both are okay. So Rian decides to take one small step. Not a step to change his life. Not a step to fix everything. Just a small step to grow. He decides to go back to the park. To see the old man. To see the tree. To see the place where he first felt a little hope. He walks out of his house and makes his way down the quiet street. The air smells fresh. The morning birds are singing softly. The world feels alive. And with each step, Rian feels the flame inside him returning, little by little. When he reaches the park, he looks around. The old man is not there. The tree is there, small, thin, almost hidden, but the old man is nowhere to be seen. Rian feels a strange sadness. He didn't come only for the tree. He came for the man's energy, his kindness, his wisdom, his belief. Rian sits on a bench near the tree and watches it quietly. It hasn't grown much. It still looks weak. But it is standing. It is still trying. It is still growing, even if the growth is too small to see today. And suddenly, Rian understands something. The tree didn't grow in one day. The tree didn't grow in 1 week. The tree didn't grow because someone told it, you must grow. The tree grew because growing is its nature. And maybe, just maybe, growing is also his nature. He sits there for a long time, thinking about his life, thinking about his fears, thinking about all the times he stopped himself because of doubt. And then he remembers a moment from his childhood. A memory that returns like a soft breeze. He remembers being a small boy trying to learn how to swim. He remembers standing at the edge of the pool, scared of the deep water. He remembers his mother standing behind him, saying gently, "I'm here. You can do it. I believe in you." And he remembers the moment when he finally jumped into the water, not because he wasn't afraid, but because he trusted the voice that believed in him. That memory makes him smile. A small smile, but a real one. He realizes something beautiful. Self-belief is not about never feeling fear. Self-belief is about choosing to move even when fear is there. Rian takes a deep breath and stands up from the bench. He looks at the young tree one more time and thinks, if this tiny tree can grow in hard soil, maybe I can grow too. He begins walking through the park, and as he walks, he notices something he didn't see earlier. Far away, Near the other side of the park, the old man is sitting quietly on another bench. His tools are next to him. His hat is low. His eyes are closed, enjoying the morning sun. Rian walks over. When the old man sees him, he smiles gently. "Ah, the boy who watches trees grow." Rian laughs softly. "I came to see you." The old man nods. "And what did you learn today?" Rian thinks for a moment. Then he says slowly, "That doubt feels big, but I don't have to listen to it." The old man's eyes brighten. "Good. Doubt is only a voice. It cannot move your feet unless you let it." Rian sits beside him and asks, "But how do I stop feeling doubt?" The old man taps his walking stick softly on the ground. "You don't. Doubt will visit you again and again. But you can decide whether it stays or not." Rian looks confused, so the old man continues, speaking slowly, gently. "Imagine your mind is a house. Fear knocks on the door. Doubt knocks too. You can hear them. That is normal. But you don't have to open the door. You don't have to invite them inside. Let them knock and let them leave." Rian feels something warm fill his chest. He imagines a house, his house, with a door. And outside the door, doubt's knocking softly. But inside, he is calm. He is strong. The old man continues, "Every time you take a step, even a small one, you teach your mind something new. You teach it that you are stronger than your doubt." Rian listens carefully, letting every word sink deep inside him. The old man finishes with one more line, spoken slowly, like a gentle whisper of wisdom. "Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is walking with fear, without letting it lead the way." Rian closes his eyes for a moment. He lets the words settle in his mind. When he opens his eyes again, something feels different. The wall of doubt inside him is still there, but it feels smaller. Less solid. Less frightening. He thanks the old man, and as he walks home, he feels lighter. The road doesn't feel as long. The air doesn't feel as heavy. His steps feel a little stronger, a little more confident. Because today, Rian learned something important. You don't have to destroy the wall of doubt in one day. You only need to take one step closer to climbing it. And that small step is enough. This journey is still long. Rian will still face challenges. He will still face fear. He will still face moments where he questions everything. But today, he has taken a powerful step. The step of choosing belief over doubt. And now, his life is about to change in ways he never expected. When you're ready, say. The next few days pass slowly, and something interesting begins to happen inside Rian. It's not big. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. But it is real. It is gentle. It is quiet. And quiet change is often the strongest kind of change. Each morning, when he wakes up, he feels a soft pull inside him, a feeling that reminds him of the old man's words, a feeling that whispers, "Take one small step." Not 10 steps. Not the whole journey. Just one. And so, every morning, Rian chooses a simple action. On the first day, he takes a short walk again. On the second day, he cleans his room. On the third day, he reads for 5 minutes. On the fourth day, he writes in a small notebook. On the fifth day, he smiles at someone passing by. Tiny steps. Small choices. Little actions that almost look like nothing. But these almost nothing moments quietly become everything. One evening, while sitting at his desk, Rian opens the small notebook he has been writing in. The pages are nearly empty. Only a few lines here and there. But the last page has something important. Something he wrote without thinking. Something that now pulls his attention. On the page, there is a small sentence that says, "Tomorrow I will try to be a little kinder to myself." He reads it again. And again. The words feel new. They feel strange. They feel uncomfortable but warm. Because Rian realizes something. He has spent years being unkind to himself. Years telling himself he wasn't enough. Years treating other people with compassion, patience, and forgiveness, but never giving those things to himself. He closes the notebook slowly and lets out a long breath. Maybe that will be his next small step. Maybe tomorrow, he will try to be kind to himself. The next morning arrives softly. The sun rises gently through the thin curtains. The air feels calm. Rian stretches, sits up on the bed, and remembers the promise he made to himself. Be kind to myself today. But how? What does kindness to yourself even look like? He thinks for a moment. And then, he decides to start with something very simple: breakfast. Normally, Rian eats something quick, something he doesn't taste, something he barely notices. But today, he sits at the table. He eats slowly. He breathes slowly. He lets himself enjoy the warm food, the quiet morning, the soft light filling the room. This small, simple act feels strangely powerful. When he finishes eating, he feels calm, clear, grounded, as if he finally gave himself something he has needed for a long time. But the real challenge begins later that day. Because being kind to yourself is easy when things are calm. The true test comes when you make a mistake, or face a problem, or feel the old doubts returning. And that test arrives faster than Rian expected. That afternoon, he decides to start working on something he had been avoiding for months, a small personal project he had always wanted to finish. It wasn't something big, just a simple design project he abandoned when his self-belief broke months ago. He sits at his desk, opens the project on his computer, and begins working slowly. For a few minutes, everything feels smooth, easy, peaceful. But then, he makes a mistake. A small mistake. A simple mistake. But enough to make the old thoughts come back. See? You can't do anything right. You always fail. Why are you even trying? You should give up. The voice of doubt becomes loud again. Loud and sharp. The wall begins to rise once more. Rian feels a familiar heaviness in his chest. His breath becomes tight. His hands freeze. This is the moment. The moment where he usually stops. The moment where he walks away. The moment where everything ends. But today, something different happens. Because today, he remembers his promise. Be kinder to myself. He closes his eyes and breathes slowly. One breath in. One breath out. He says to himself, softly whispering, "It's okay to make a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. This doesn't mean I can't do it. This doesn't mean I should stop. I'm learning. I'm trying. And that is enough." For the first time in his life, Rian speaks to himself like a friend, not an enemy. And something beautiful happens. The mistake doesn't disappear, but the fear does. The project doesn't fix itself, but his confidence begins to return. The doubt doesn't vanish, but he doesn't listen to it this time. He makes a small correction. He fixes the error. And slowly, gently, he continues working. For the first time in months, he doesn't walk away. For the first time in months, he stays. For the first time in months, he chooses kindness over criticism. And that one choice becomes a breakthrough. That evening, he visits the park again. The sky is painted with soft colors: orange, pink, purple mixed like a watercolor on the horizon. The young tree stands quietly, almost shining in the evening light. The old man is there too, sitting on his usual bench. When he sees Rian, he smiles as if he was expecting him. Rian sits beside him and says, "I made a mistake today." The old man nods. "Good." Rian laughs in surprise. "Good? Why good?" The old man turns his face toward the sunset and says softly, "Because mistakes are signs that you are doing something. Only people who do nothing make no mistakes." Rian looks at the tree, then at the old man. He asks, "But how do I stop feeling bad when I fail?" The old man replies gently, "Failures are like rain. They fall on everyone. But the tree grows not because it avoids the rain, but because it learns how to stay standing during the rain. Rian breathes deeply. The words feel warm, like sunlight on the inside. The old man continues, and you stayed standing today. Rian smiles, not a big smile, but a real one. A smile that feels like the beginning of something new. He doesn't tell the old man everything. He doesn't explain how difficult it was. He doesn't describe the battle inside his mind. He simply says, I tried to be kind to myself. The old man's eyes soften. He places his hand lightly on Rian's arm and says, that is the beginning of everything. They sit quietly as the sun disappears behind the horizon. The world becomes darker. The stars begin to appear. The park becomes a quiet, peaceful place. And Rian feels something beautiful inside him. Hope. Not loud. Not bright. Just a calm, steady hope. He realizes something important. Self-belief is not built by big victories. Self-belief is built by small, daily promises you keep to yourself. And today, he kept his promise. When he walks home, the road feels different. His steps feel lighter. The air feels soft. The night feels gentle. Because he finally understands. The journey of self-belief begins with one simple act, being kind to yourself. And from this point forward, his life will continue to change, step by step, moment by moment, promise by promise. The next week begins softly, and Rian continues taking small steps every day. Steps that look ordinary from the outside, but inside his mind, they feel like tiny victories. He wakes up earlier. He eats breakfast calmly. He takes walks. He works on his small project, even when it feels slow. He speaks kinder words to himself. He keeps his promises. Each day, he feels a little stronger, a little clearer, a little more himself. But life has a way of testing you right when you begin to grow. It does not test you to break you. It tests you to see if you truly want to change. And one morning, without warning, Rian's test arrives. It is a normal day. A quiet morning. A simple moment. Rian is working on his project again. He spent days improving it. He feels proud. He feels ready to show it to someone he trusts. And so, for the first time in months, he decides to share it with a close friend. He takes a deep breath, sends the file, and writes, "What do you think?" After sending it, he feels nervous but excited. His heart is beating fast, but in a good way, because he knows he has worked hard. He knows he has grown. He knows he has tried. Hours pass. Finally, his friend replies. Rian opens the message with a hopeful smile. But the message is not what he expected. His friend writes, "It's okay, but it still needs a lot of improvement. Some parts look weak. Maybe it's not your strongest work." Rian reads it once. His smile disappears. He reads it again. His chest becomes tight. He reads it a third time. His stomach feels heavy. The old voice inside him wakes up instantly. "See? You're not good enough. You failed again. You should stop before you embarrass yourself. Why did you even try?" Rian feels like the ground under him is breaking. The small flame inside him begins to shake violently. He feels the wall of doubt rising taller than before. He feels like everything he built over the week is collapsing in seconds. He closes his laptop. He sits back. He stares at the wall. And for a moment, he wants to give up. Not just on the project. Not just on the day. But on himself. The disappointment feels heavy. The fear feels sharp. The sadness feels old, like an old wound opening again. Rian walks outside. Not because he wants to, but because he doesn't know what else to do. His steps are slow. His breath is unsteady. His mind is loud with negative thoughts. He arrives at the park. But today, the park doesn't feel peaceful. It feels distant. Cold. Quiet. He sees the young tree. The tree looks the same. Still small. Still thin. Still trying. But today, Rian doesn't feel inspired. He feels tired. He sits on a bench and lowers his head. Minutes pass. He doesn't move. He doesn't think. He just sits with the weight inside him. Then, he hears a familiar voice. "You look like the sky before a storm." Rian looks up. The old man is standing near him, holding a small bag of gardening tools. His eyes are gentle but curious. Rian tries to smile, but his smile is weak. "I messed up," he says quietly. The old man sits beside him. "Messed up how?" Rian tells him everything. The project. The message. The disappointment. The heavy feeling. The old doubts returning. He speaks slowly, like each word weighs too much. When he finishes, the old man stays silent for a moment. Then he says something unexpected. "Good." Rian looks at him in shock. "Good? How's this good?" The old man turns to Rian and says softly, "Because you finally faced a real test." Rian frowns. "But I failed." The old man shakes his head slowly. "No, my boy. You did not fail. You were simply shaken. And there is a difference." He lifts his walking stick and points at the young tree. "Do you see that tree?" Rian nods. The old man says, "Last night, the wind here was very strong. That tree shook all night. Its branches bent. Its leaves almost fell. It struggled. But it did not break. And today, it is still standing." Rian looks at the tree. It looks calm now. Peaceful. Alive. The old man continues, "Your friend did not break you. His words only shook you. You are still standing." "But it hurt," Rian whispers. "Of course it did," the old man replies softly. "Growing always hurts a little." Rian feels tears in his eyes. Not because of the criticism, but because he realizes something. He wanted approval more than he realized. He wanted someone to say, "Good job." He wanted someone to believe in him. The old man watches him quietly and says, "Listen carefully. When you depend on others to believe in you, your self-belief becomes a fragile thing. But when you learn to believe in yourself, no criticism can destroy you." Rian wipes his eyes. But the sadness is still there. So the old man adds one more sentence, a sentence that feels like a key turning in Rian's heart. "A strong person listens to feedback. A weak person hides from it. But a wise person knows the difference between feedback and judgment." Rian thinks about this deeply. Maybe his friend wasn't judging him. Maybe the friend was simply being honest. Maybe the project can be improved. Maybe it was not an attack, but an opportunity. But the old pain inside him made it feel like an attack. He takes a slow breath. Then another. Then another. The old man stands up and begins walking toward the young tree. He checks the soil. He adjusts the support stick, keeping the tree straight. He works quietly. Rian watches him work. The movements are slow. Steady. Patient. "Why do you do that?" Rian asks. The old man smiles. "Because the tree is growing. And anything that grows needs support." Rian looks at the ground. His voice becomes soft, almost a whisper. "And what about people?" The old man turns to him with warm eyes. "People need support too. But the strongest support must come from inside." Rian feels the words fall deep into his heart. He walks closer to the tree. He examines its thin trunk, its soft leaves, its small, determined strength. Then he says something he has never said before, something that feels like a new beginning. "I want to grow too. Even if it hurts. Even if it's slow. Even if I fall again." The old man nods approvingly. That is self-belief. Rian smiles, a quiet, honest smile. He knows the road ahead will not be easy. He knows he will face more challenges. He knows doubt will return again and again. But he also knows something else. He does not have to break when life shakes him. He can stand. He can breathe. He can continue. Because now he understands. Self-belief is not built when people praise you. Self-belief is built when you rise after being shaken. And this test, painful as it was, has made him stronger. When the next morning arrived, the world felt strangely quiet, almost as if it was waiting for something to happen. The sun was rising slowly, painting a soft golden color on the small town where our character lived. And as he stepped outside, he felt something unusual inside his chest. It was not fear. It was not doubt. It was something new, something calm, warm, and almost powerful. It was the beginning of self-belief, although he did not fully understand it yet. He walked down the street with slow steps, listening to the sounds around him, the faraway buses, the morning birds, the quiet footsteps of other people going to work or school. Each sound felt sharper today, clearer, as if the noise of his own negative thoughts had finally become a little softer. For the first time in a very long time, he noticed he was breathing easier. His shoulders were not as tight. His steps felt lighter, almost free. But of course, life always tests us when we begin to grow. It never lets us change without a challenge. And that challenge came faster than he expected. Just as he reached the small bus stop, he saw a group of familiar faces. People he knew. People who always made him feel small. People who often said things like, "Why do you try so hard?" or "You're not good enough for that job." Their voices used to hurt him deeply. Their words used to stick inside his mind and stay there for days. Normally, he would avoid them. Normally, he would look down at the ground and pretend to be invisible. But today felt different. His heart still beat fast, but there was something else beating with it, courage. It was small, but it was there. And sometimes, even the smallest courage can change the entire direction of your life. One of the men looked at him and smirked. "So, heard you're trying again," he said with a lazy, mocking voice. "Trying to be someone you're not." Normally, our character would freeze. He would accept the words. He would believe them. But this time, something surprising happened. He opened his mouth to speak. And his voice, though soft, did not shake. "I'm trying," he said, "because I want to change my life. And I don't have to be the old me forever." The group fell quiet. They were not expecting that. They were used to controlling him with doubt. But self-belief, even in its first weak form, can break old patterns instantly. He did not argue. He did not fight. He simply spoke the truth. And the truth, spoken with self-belief, becomes power. The men looked confused. Some even looked uncomfortable. And slowly, without another word, they looked away. He had just won a battle he did not even plan to fight. He sat on the bus feeling both shocked and strangely proud. How did he do that? Where did those words come from? He didn't know, but he felt something incredible. A tiny spark inside him was growing. A spark that whispered, "You can be more. You can do more. You have the right to believe in yourself." But life was not done testing him yet. When he arrived at work, his supervisor called him into the office. This supervisor was strict and often made him feel unimportant. Our character took a deep breath before entering. The supervisor looked up, his face serious, his eyes sharp. "I heard," he said, "that you are thinking about applying for that new position." Our character nodded slowly. "Yes," he said, even though fear was still sitting inside his stomach. "I want to try." The supervisor leaned back in his chair. "But you know it is difficult," he said. "You know others are stronger candidates. You know your past performance has not been perfect." And here came the big test, the biggest one of the day. Because sometimes, the world repeats your old story to see if you still believe it. Today, he did not. "I know," he said quietly. "But I'm learning. And I want to grow. I think I can do better now." The supervisor's expression shifted slightly, almost like he had heard something unexpected. Because confidence, even gentle confidence, can change how people look at you. The supervisor did not smile. He did not praise him. But he nodded once slowly. "Then show me," he said. "Show me you're ready." As he walked out of the office, he felt something powerful moving inside him. It wasn't pride. It wasn't victory. It was something deeper: ownership. Ownership of his life, his choices, his future. Self-belief was no longer a seed. It was now a small plant, growing stronger with every breath. And as he went about his work, he noticed something interesting. He was more focused, more steady. He made fewer mistakes. He spoke clearer when talking to coworkers. His hands did not shake like before. Even his smile felt easier. It was almost like the world around him was changing, but the truth was, he was changing inside, and the world was simply responding to that change. Near lunchtime, he stepped outside for air. The sky was bright, the wind gentle, and the day felt unbelievably peaceful. In that quiet moment, something soft but important touched his mind: the realization that believing in yourself is not a single moment. It is not a loud thought or a dramatic scene. It is a slow, gentle awakening. It happens in small breaths, small steps, small choices. The moment you start saying, "Maybe I can," everything begins to shift. Even the air around you feels different. He stood there for a long minute, breathing in deeply, feeling something he had not felt in years: hope. Not a fantasy, not a dream, but real hope. Hope that came from inside, not from someone else. And that kind of hope is unbreakable. It was the moment everything changed. And he didn't need applause. He didn't need anyone to say, "Good job." He didn't need proof or success or results. For the first time, believing in himself was enough. And that belief was going to open doors he never thought he could reach. The next morning arrived quietly, but something inside him felt heavier than before. And this happens to many of us on our journey of self-belief. After a strong moment, after a brave step, after a small victory, something unexpected happens. A wall appears. A hidden wall that lives deep inside our minds. Some people call it fear. Some call it doubt. Some call it old memories. But whatever the name is, it has the same effect. It stops us from moving forward. And that morning, our character felt that wall again. He woke up early, expecting to feel strong like the previous day. But instead, he felt tired. Small worries slowly began to rise, like quiet whispers in his mind. Maybe yesterday was just luck, one thought said. What if you fail later? Another voice whispered. These voices were soft, but they were strong. They were old. They were familiar. They were the same voices that had stopped him so many times before. He sat on the edge of his bed, looking at the floor, trying to understand why he felt this way. After everything he did yesterday, after standing up for himself, after speaking bravely, after facing fear, why? Was doubt returning? Why was it trying to push him back into his old self? But that is the nature of self-belief. It is not a straight road. It is not a perfect climb. It is like walking through fog. Some days the path is clear. Some days you cannot see anything. Some days you feel strong. Some days the old fear returns. And that is normal. Completely normal. Because change is not easy. The mind always tries to pull you back to what feels safe, even if what feels safe is the thing that hurts you. And for our character, safety used to mean silence. Safety used to mean avoiding challenges. Safety used to mean not trying at all. But his heart knew something different now. His heart had tasted courage. His heart had tasted possibility. So even though the doubt was loud that morning, something deep inside him whispered softly, "Keep going." He stood up slowly and began his usual morning routine, washing his face, making a simple breakfast, drinking tea quietly. But as he moved, he felt the doubt growing stronger. It was like carrying a heavy bag on his shoulders. A bag full of old memories, people laughing at him, people saying he was not good enough, people telling him he could never achieve anything big. Each memory was like a stone, weighing him down. This hidden wall inside him felt massive today. But the surprising thing was, he did not run away from it. He did not try to hide from it. He did not pretend it was not there. For the first time in his life, he looked at the wall with honesty. He whispered to himself, I am scared, but I still want to grow. And that small sentence, simple, gentle, honest, created the first tiny crack in the wall. He walked to work like every other day, but today the path felt longer. His steps were slower. His thoughts were louder. When he entered the building, he noticed his supervisor speaking with some of the higher managers. They seemed serious, important. Maybe they were talking about the position he wanted to apply for. His stomach tightened. His breath became shallow. His old habit returned, wanting to hide. But something interesting happened. Whenever fear pushed him back, he remembered the previous day. He remembered how he stood up for himself at the bus stop. He remembered how he spoke confidently with his supervisor. He remembered how he felt a spark of self-belief. And each memory worked like a small light in the darkness. Not enough to remove the fear completely, but enough to make him take one more step. During lunch break, he went to the rooftop, his favorite quiet place. From up there, he could see the whole town. Tiny houses, busy roads, people walking quickly to live their lives. The wind was strong that day, brushing against his face. He closed his eyes for a moment and let himself feel everything: the fear, the doubt, the hope, the desire to change. And in that quiet moment, he realized something important. Self-belief does not mean the absence of fear. Self-belief means moving even when fear is present. This realization washed over him gently, like warm sunlight breaking through clouds. The hidden wall inside him was still there, but now he understood it. It wasn't there to stop him. It was there to test him. To ask him, how badly do you want to grow? He whispered again, softly but clearly, I want to grow. Even if I am scared. And with that, the wall became weaker. Not broken yet. Not gone. But weaker, softer. He spent the rest of the day working quietly, but his mind was different. Instead of fighting the fear, he accepted it. Instead of running from doubt, he observed it. Instead of judging himself, he treated his feelings kindly. And something beautiful began to happen. The moment he stopped fighting himself, his confidence started to return naturally. By evening time, he felt lighter again. Not perfect, not fearless, but stronger than he was in the morning. And that slow rise, that gentle climb from doubt to strength, was a powerful step on his journey. Before going to sleep that night, he said to himself, tomorrow, I will try again. And that simple promise, said quietly in a small dark room, was enough to keep him moving forward. Because the journey of self-belief is not about being brave every second. It is about coming back to yourself, again and again, no matter how many times you fall. The next morning arrived gently, as if the world wanted to give him a soft start. A pale light filled his small room, and he opened his eyes slowly, without rushing. He didn't feel powerful. He didn't feel unstoppable. But he didn't feel completely afraid either. What he felt was something small, something calm, something steady. It was not confidence. It was not excitement. It was something simpler, a quiet strength. A strength that does not shout, does not fight, does not demand attention. A strength that simply exists inside you, even when you are not aware of it. And that quiet strength was growing. As he sat up and stretched his arms, he noticed that his breathing felt smoother today. His mind was not as noisy as yesterday. The wall of doubt was still there somewhere, but it was not blocking him anymore. It was just there, like an old memory he could walk past. He prepared himself for the day slowly, with gentle movements. He washed his face, combed his hair, and made tea. While holding the warm cup in his hands, he looked at the rising sun outside his window. The sky was changing colors: soft orange, gentle pink, light blue. It looked peaceful. And that peaceful sky reminded him that growth does not happen loudly. It happens quietly, like the sky changing little by little every morning. As he walked to work, he felt the soft morning breeze brushing against his face. He heard the sound of footsteps on the road, the soft engines of cars, the distant sound of a bicycle bell. Everything felt clearer today, as if his senses had opened up. When he entered the office, he noticed something unusual. People looked at him differently. Not because he had done something big, not because of any achievement, but because he was carrying himself differently. His shoulders were not low. His eyes were not down. His steps were not timid. He walked with a quiet strength that people could feel, even if they didn't understand it. That is the magic of inner growth. People feel the change even before you speak. He started working, focusing on his tasks. He felt more present today, more grounded. When coworkers spoke to him, he replied gently but confidently. When someone asked for help, he offered it calmly. Even when small problems appeared, a mistake in a file, a misunderstanding in communication, he did not panic as he used to. Instead, he breathed slowly and handled things one by one. The strange thing was, he didn't even realize how much he had changed. Growth often happens like this, quietly, naturally, without dramatic moments. You simply wake up one day and notice you're handling life better than before. Around midday, his supervisor called him again. This time, the supervisor's face was not strict. It was curious. "I noticed your work today," he said. "You seem more focused, more confident." Something changed. Our character gave a small smile. Not a proud smile. Not a nervous smile. Just a simple, calm one. "I'm trying," he said softly. "I'm learning to believe in myself, even if it is slow." The supervisor nodded slowly, and in his eyes, there was something new: respect. Not loud respect. Not dramatic respect. But a small, sincere kind. And the truth is, people respect those who are quietly growing more than those who pretend to be strong. After the short conversation, he returned to his desk. He felt good, not because of the supervisor's reaction, but because he had spoken honestly. Authenticity is its own kind of power. Later that afternoon, something interesting happened. A coworker came to him and said, "You look different today. You seem more sure of yourself. Are you okay?" He laughed softly and said, "I think I'm changing a little." The coworker nodded and smiled. "Whatever you're doing, keep going. It looks good on you." Those words warmed his heart. As the day continued, everything felt smoother. Even small challenges felt less scary. When the workday finally ended, he walked outside into the cool evening. The sky was a deep blue, now with golden light fading behind the buildings. He took a long breath, letting the fresh air fill his lungs. And then, he realized something. Today had felt easier than yesterday. The hidden wall was fading. The fear was quieter. The doubt was weaker. All because he kept going. He didn't give up. He didn't stop. He didn't run back into his old self. And that is one of the greatest secrets of self-belief. You don't grow fast. You grow consistently. You grow quietly. You grow simply by choosing to try again. He walked home slowly, feeling proud, not the loud kind of pride, but the gentle, warm kind that sits quietly in your heart. When he arrived home, he washed his face, prepared dinner, and sat by the window. He watched the city lights shining softly outside, like tiny stars on the ground. And as he watched them, he felt something very important. He was becoming someone he had never been before. Someone steady. Someone brave in small ways. Someone who could trust himself. Someone who could grow without fear of falling. Before going to sleep, he whispered to himself, "I'm proud of today. Tomorrow I will continue." And with that simple promise, the quiet strength inside him grew a little more. The next day began like any other, with soft morning light entering through his small window and touching the floor gently. He woke up slowly, stretching his arms and breathing deeply. But today, something felt different. Not heavy, not confusing, not painful. Instead, there was a feeling in the air, a feeling that something important was waiting for him. He didn't know what it was. He couldn't explain it. But he felt it deep inside, like a quiet voice saying, "Be ready." He got dressed and ate a simple breakfast. While drinking his tea, he looked outside at the busy street. The world was moving as usual, people walking fast, buses running on time, shopkeepers opening their doors, but for him, today felt special. It felt like a turning point, even though nothing had happened yet. And sometimes life is like that. Before something big arrives, the heart often feels it first. Before the opportunity appears, the mind becomes strangely alert. Before life changes, there is always a soft whisper inside telling you, something new is coming. He walked to work with calm steps, feeling the cool air on his face. When he entered the office, he noticed people talking more than usual. Small groups were gathered near desks, whispering quietly. Something was happening, but he didn't know what. He hung his bag and sat down, preparing himself for the day. A few minutes later, his coworker leaned closer and whispered, "Did you hear? The regional manager is coming today." He froze for a second. The regional manager? That meant someone important. Someone powerful. Someone who rarely visited their branch. And when someone important visits, something big usually follows. He felt his heart beat a little faster. Not from fear, but from anticipation. Maybe this was the moment he had been slowly preparing for without even realizing it. About an hour later, the office door opened and a tall, confident-looking woman stepped inside. She had sharp eyes but a kind expression. Everyone stood up a little straighter when she entered. The supervisor quickly walked up to her and greeted her respectfully. After a few words, they began walking around the office together, checking each department, asking questions, observing everything quietly. When they reached his desk, he felt nervous, but not the old kind of nervousness. Not the fear that made him want to disappear. This was a different kind, a healthy nervousness, the kind that comes when a challenge is close, but you feel ready for it. The supervisor introduced him. "This is one of our most promising employees," he said. "He's been showing great improvement lately." The regional manager looked at him closely. Her eyes were calm, thoughtful. "I've heard your name," she said. "You applied for the new position, correct?" He swallowed softly and nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I want to grow." She didn't smile. She didn't frown. She simply studied him with quiet interest, like she was trying to see beyond his words, trying to understand who he truly was. After a moment, she said, "Tell me something. Why do you want this position?" The office fell silent. Everyone nearby pretended to work, but they were listening carefully. His heart beat faster, but he kept breathing, kept grounding himself, kept remembering everything he had learned about self-belief. And slowly, he began to speak. "I want this position," he said, "because I want to challenge myself. Because I want to stop doubting who I am. I want to grow, even if it takes time. I want to learn more and prove to myself that I can do better than I did before." The room stayed silent for a moment. His words were simple. His voice was soft. But something about his answer had truth inside it, pure, honest truth. And honest words always carry power. The regional manager nodded once, slowly. "Good," she said. "Growth starts with honesty. Let's see what you can do." Then she walked away. His coworkers looked at him with surprise. Some looked impressed. Some looked curious. But all of them saw something new in him, a steadiness that they hadn't seen before. His supervisor gave him a short nod, the kind of nod that silently says, "Well done." The rest of the day moved quickly. He worked harder, more focused, more present. The regional manager observed him a few more times, nodding quietly as she watched him handle small challenges with calm confidence. At one point, she even asked him to explain a procedure to her, not because she needed it, but because she wanted to see how clearly he could communicate. And he explained it simply, smoothly, using the same calm voice he had been practicing with himself every morning. When the workday finally ended, the regional manager gathered everyone for a short announcement. She stood in front of the office with her hands folded behind her back. The room fell silent. "I have reviewed your branch," she said, "and I'm impressed with the recent improvements, especially with the dedication shown by certain individuals." Her eyes paused on him for a brief moment. His heart jumped. "I will be selecting a candidate for the new position very soon. Some of you have shown potential that I did not expect." People looked around the room. Many eyes turned toward him. He felt a warm pressure inside his chest, not fear, not anxiety, but hope. Real, growing hope. When he walked home that evening, the sky was glowing orange, and the cool evening air wrapped around him gently. Every step felt lighter, every breath felt deeper. Today was not the final step of his journey. But today was the day the world finally noticed his growth. Today was the day opportunity came close enough for him to touch. Today was the day his self-belief started opening real doors. And he realized something beautiful while walking under the colorful sky. Opportunities don't come to the strongest people. They come to the people who keep growing, quietly and consistently. He smiled softly to himself and whispered, "I'm ready." Not perfect, not fearless, but ready. The next morning began with a soft rain tapping gently on his window. The world outside looked quiet, almost sleepy. Cars moved slowly on the wet road. People walked holding umbrellas close to their bodies, and the air felt cool and clean. He stood by the window for a moment, watching the drops slide down the glass. Rain always made him think about life, think about choices, think about the things he wanted but was always afraid to chase. Today, however, the rain felt different. It didn't make him feel sad or heavy. It made him feel calm, almost prepared. He got ready slowly but confidently. As he wore his shirt and tied his shoes, he whispered to himself, "Just be yourself today." It was a simple line, but it brought comfort, like a hand gently resting on his shoulder. He stepped outside with an umbrella and began walking through the rain. The sound of raindrops hitting the umbrella made a steady rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. And maybe that was why he felt grounded, because the world around him was moving in a soft, steady rhythm, and he was moving with it. When he reached the office, everyone seemed more alert than usual. People were tidying their desks, organizing files, rehearsing what they might say. It was clear the regional manager was still watching closely, and everyone wanted to impress her. But our character felt strangely calm. Not because he believed he would be chosen. Not because he felt superior. But because he had decided something important. He would do his best without trying to be perfect. He would show his real self, not a pretend version. He would not fight for attention. He would simply be present. As he set up his desk, the supervisor approached him. "Good morning," the supervisor said quietly. "The regional manager wants to see your work report from last week. She wants to evaluate your progress." His chest tightened slightly. This was unexpected. He had worked hard, yes, but he wasn't sure if his report was excellent. Still, he nodded. "I'll bring it to her," he said. When he walked into the conference room, the regional manager was standing by the window, watching the rain outside. She turned slowly when she heard the door. "Ah, good," she said. "Come in." He handed her the report. She opened it and read silently. The room was so quiet he could almost hear the rain falling outside. She read slowly, page by page, without looking up. He stood there, hands relaxed at his sides, trying to stay calm. After a few long minutes, she closed the file gently and looked at him. Her eyes were thoughtful, focused. "Sit," she said. He obeyed. She leaned forward slightly. "Tell me honestly, what do you think of your own progress?" He swallowed, thinking carefully. "I think," he began softly, "I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. But I'm improving day by day. I'm learning to trust myself more. And I'm giving more effort than before." Her expression stayed calm. "Do you believe you can take on more responsibility?" He hesitated for a moment, not from fear, but from honesty. Then he said, "Yes. I believe I can. Maybe I will struggle sometimes. Maybe I will need guidance. But I can grow into the role." The regional manager nodded slowly, almost approvingly. "Good. I prefer people who grow, not people who pretend to know everything." Then she asked something unexpected. "Can you solve a small problem for me right now?" His heart skipped a beat. "I'll try," he said. She handed him a file with numbers, charts, and a small mistake hidden inside. "Find the error," she said simply. He took a deep breath, opened the file, and began scanning it. At first, everything seemed normal. Then he found it, a small misalignment in the data. A number that didn't match the rest. A detail that many people would miss. He pointed to it gently. "I think the mistake is here." She leaned in and looked. A small smile formed on her face, the first smile he had seen from her. "Correct," she said. "Most people miss that." His heart warmed. Not with pride, but with relief. With gratitude. With the quiet certainty that he was capable of more than he used to believe. The regional manager closed the file and said, "I have one more question." He looked up, attentive. "What motivates you?" she asked. "What makes you want to grow?" This time, he didn't think too long. He answered from the deepest place inside him. "I'm tired of living small," he said softly. "I'm tired of doubting myself. I want to build a life I can be proud of. I want to reach a place where I don't feel scared to try. That is why I want to grow." The room fell silent. Only the rain outside continued its soft rhythm. The regional manager studied him for a long moment, then leaned back in her chair. "Thank you," she said. "You may go now." He stood slowly, bowed his head respectfully, and left the room. When he returned to his desk, his coworkers immediately asked, "What happened?" "What did she say?" He simply smiled and said, "I just answered honestly." But inside, something powerful was happening. He felt lighter. He felt clearer. He felt stronger. The test had not been about perfection. It had been about character. About honesty. About growth. And he had passed, not because he was flawless, but because he was real. As he walked home later, the rain had stopped and the sun was shining softly through the clouds. The wet road reflected the golden light, and the whole world seemed fresh, new, clean. And as he walked through the quiet streets, he realized something beautiful. Life tests you not to break you, but to show you who you are becoming. And he was becoming someone he could finally believe in. When the night comes again and the world becomes soft and calm, I want you to sit with me in this gentle silence. I want you to breathe slowly and listen, not to the sounds around you, but to the voice inside you that you often ignore. Because in this section, we explore something you already have, something you were born with, something that never leaves you, even when you feel small, confused, or tired. It is the quiet power inside you. The power of belief. The power that changes the direction of your life without making any noise. And as you listen to me now, I want you to feel like we are sitting next to each other on a peaceful rooftop, watching the stars slowly appear, one by one, like tiny lights of hope. The air is cool, the sky is dark blue, and you can feel the world beginning to relax. This is the perfect moment to look inside yourself. You know, we often think strength means shouting, fighting, or winning loudly. But that is not always true. Sometimes the strongest moments in your life happen when you are alone, when no one is watching, when you decide quietly but firmly that you will not give up. Maybe nobody hears that decision. Maybe nobody celebrates it. But that decision becomes a seed inside you. And one day, it grows into something bigger than you expected. Confidence doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it comes with a soft whisper that says, "Try again. You can do it." And I want you to pay attention to that whisper right now. I want you to remember a moment in your life when you doubted yourself. A moment when you thought, maybe I am not good enough. Everyone has that moment. Even strong people. Even successful people. Even people who look confident on the outside. And in that moment, maybe you wanted to stop. Maybe you wanted to run away. Maybe you wanted to hide. But you didn't. Something inside you said, keep going. That small voice, that small push, that small belief, that is your quiet power. You didn't realize it then, but you were stronger than your fear. As you listen to this story, imagine that small voice growing clearer, louder, warmer. Imagine that quiet power becoming your best friend. Because belief is not something outside of you. It is not something you need to learn from a book or get from another person. You already have it. It lives inside you, waiting for moments when you feel lost. And I promise you, every time you choose to listen to that voice, you change your future a little bit. I know it can be hard to believe in yourself when life feels heavy. When you make mistakes. When other people don't support you. When the road feels long. When your dreams feel too far. When you feel stuck. But strength does not come from having an easy life. It comes from standing up again and again, even when you don't feel ready. Think about it. Every challenge you faced, every problem you survived, every disappointment you came through, those things shaped your power. You may not notice it because you were too busy surviving, but you are much stronger than you think. Let me tell you a quiet truth that many people never understand. You do not need to be perfect to believe in yourself. You do not need to win every time. You do not need to know everything. You do not need a perfect plan. You only need one thing, the willingness to try. The willingness to take one small step when your body is tired. The willingness to speak one small sentence in English when your mind feels nervous. The willingness to try again after you make a mistake. That willingness is your quiet power, your invisible strength. And when you speak English, that quiet power is what helps you open your mouth even when you feel shy. It is the voice that tells you, just say it. It doesn't have to be perfect. When you listen to English, that power is what tells you, don't worry if you don't understand everything. You are learning. You are growing. When you study, that power whispers, this is difficult now, but soon it will be easy. This is the calm, steady, unshakable belief that makes language learning possible. Without self-belief, even simple things become impossible. With self-belief, even difficult things become possible. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine you are walking on a long road. At first, the road looks dark. You don't know where it leads. You feel scared. But then you see a small light inside your chest. It is not bright. It is not loud. But it is warm. And as you walk, the light grows a little. The road becomes a little clearer. And every time you take a step, the light becomes brighter. This is how self-belief works. You don't get the full light at the beginning. You create it by moving forward, step by step. You may think your progress is slow. But slow is not bad. Slow means steady. Slow means real. Slow means you are learning deeply. Slow means you are not giving up. And every slow step creates trust inside you. Trust in your mind. Trust in your heart. Trust in your future. And now, as you hear my voice, I want you to connect with your quiet power again. Take a breath. Feel the air move in and out of your body. Your breath is your proof that you are alive. And as long as you are alive, there is something good waiting for you in the future. Something new. Something beautiful. Something you will achieve because you believe in yourself even when no one else does. And in this peaceful moment, with the night around us and the stars above us, I want to tell you one thing clearly. You are stronger than you think. You are more capable than you believe. You are growing every day, even when you don't notice. You are becoming someone better, someone wiser, someone braver. And the power to keep going is already inside you. Not outside. Not in other people. Inside you. So hold that power gently. Trust it. Walk with it. And remember, quiet strength lasts longer than loud strength. Quiet belief is deeper than loud motivation. And quiet confidence can carry your entire life. Now, take a deep breath, because we are moving into the next part of your journey. As we continue this long, peaceful journey together, I want you to imagine the world slowly waking up around you. The sky is turning from deep night to soft morning blue, and the air feels fresh, almost new. You can hear the gentle sound of birds somewhere far away, and the quiet breeze touches your face like a kind reminder. This is the moment when a new day begins. And, just like the world around you, something inside you is also beginning to awaken. Something small, but powerful. Something honest. Something true. This section is about becoming the person you truly want to be, not the person others expect you to be, not the person your past fears try to create, but the real you, the one you dream about when nobody is watching. You know, many people go through life without ever asking themselves a simple question: who do I truly want to become? They just follow the road society gives them. They repeat what others do. They do what others say. They let fear, doubt, and past mistakes shape their path. And slowly, without noticing, they stop dreaming. They stop hoping. They stop believing that change is possible. But you, right now, listening to my voice, are different. You are searching, exploring, learning, and growing. And that means you are ready to shape your future with your own hands. You are ready to breathe life into your dreams. Becoming the person you want to be does not happen in a single moment. It is not a dramatic change. It is a gentle process, like a sunrise. Quiet. Slow. Beautiful. At first, you only see a little light. Then the light grows. Then the sky changes. And slowly, the world becomes brighter than before. That is how self-belief transforms you. That is how English becomes part of your life. That is how you become someone you are proud of. But of course, the journey is not always easy. You will face moments when you feel tired. Moments when you are confused. Moments when you don't know what choice to make. You may look at others and think they are moving faster. You may feel small. You may feel behind. But remember this: flowers grow at different speeds, yet they all bloom beautifully. You are not late. You are not slow. You are simply growing at the pace that is right for you. And here is something important: becoming yourself does not mean changing into someone new. It means uncovering the parts of you that were always there but were hidden under fear, doubt, or past pain. You are not trying to be someone else. You are trying to be yourself, but stronger, clearer, kinder, and more confident. Think of it like polishing a mirror. The mirror was always able to reflect light, but dust on the surface made the reflection unclear. When you clean the dust, the doubt, the fear, the mistakes, the mirror shines again. You shine again. Now, I want you to take a moment and imagine the version of yourself that you want to become. Not a perfect version. Not a version without mistakes. But a version that feels true. Maybe this version of you speaks English with confidence and calmness. Maybe this version of you wakes up every morning feeling excited about life. Maybe this version of you is brave enough to take chances, or patient enough to learn slowly, or strong enough to stand up after failure. Imagine that version clearly. See how they walk. See how they talk. See how they breathe. See how they carry themselves. That version is not far away. That version is not a fantasy. That version is you, just a little bit ahead on the path. And the most beautiful part is this: every small decision you make brings you closer to that version. When you listen to English instead of giving up, you move closer. When you speak, even when you feel shy, you move closer. When you believe in yourself for just 1 minute longer, you move closer. When you forgive yourself for mistakes, you move closer. Every step counts. Even the small ones. Especially the small ones. We often think transformation means big changes, but it doesn't. It means choosing what is good for you again and again, even on days when you don't feel strong. Sometimes it means choosing rest when you are tired. Sometimes it means choosing effort when you want to quit. Sometimes it means choosing kindness for yourself when you feel disappointed. And when you do this consistently, slowly, without pressure, you become the person you dreamed of. Think of your journey like building a house. At first, you only have empty land. Then you lay the first brick. Then another. And another. People passing by may not see anything special. They may not understand what you're building. They may think nothing is happening. But you know that every brick matters. And then, one day, the house stands tall and strong. But it didn't appear suddenly. It grew slowly from small, consistent steps. That is how your future self is being built, brick by brick, day by day, decision by decision. I want you to hear this clearly. You do not need to rush. You do not need to compare yourself with anyone. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to be honest with yourself. Ask yourself what you want. Ask yourself why you want it. And then take one small step toward that desire. Every day. Even on the hard days. Even when you feel lost. Because becoming yourself is not about speed. It is about direction. And here is a gentle reminder. Self-belief is not something you feel every moment. Nobody feels confident all the time. Not me. Not you. Not successful people. Not skilled English speakers. Confidence rises and falls like waves. But belief is different. Belief is the quiet decision to keep going even when confidence is low. Belief is the anchor that keeps you stable when life becomes windy. Belief is what helps you stay on the path. So as we continue this journey, as you listen to this long story, as you practice your English with patience and calmness, remember that you are not just learning a language. You are shaping your identity. You are building your strength. You are discovering your voice. You are becoming someone new, and yet more yourself than ever before. This transformation is happening inside you right now, quietly, beautifully, naturally. And now, when you're ready, we will move to the next part of your journey. The morning light is now brighter. The soft blue sky has turned into a warm golden color that slowly covers everything around you. It feels like the world is opening its eyes, stretching its arms, and taking its first breath of the day. And as the world wakes up, something inside you is waking up too. Something gentle. Something brave. Something that has been waiting patiently for the right moment. This section is about the day you finally begin to trust yourself, truly, deeply, honestly. Trusting yourself is not something we learn in one moment. It doesn't come like a sudden spark. It grows inside you slowly, quietly, like a plant reaching towards sunlight. At first, you may not notice anything. You may think nothing is changing. You may think you are still the same. But one day, without planning it, you feel a small shift. A small clarity. A small strength. Suddenly you realize, wait, maybe I can do this. Maybe I am capable. Maybe I don't need permission. Maybe I am stronger than my doubts. And that moment, That tiny realization is the beginning of self-trust. You see, self-trust is different from self-belief. Self-belief says, I can try. Self-trust says, I can handle whatever happens. Self-belief gives you courage to start. Self-trust gives you courage to continue. And as you move through your life, as you learn English, as you face challenges, you need both. When you trust yourself, the world feels less frightening. Choices feel less heavy. Mistakes feel less painful. Because you no longer think the world is against you. You understand that you can guide yourself through anything. Think about the first time you tried something new, riding a bicycle, speaking in front of a group, cooking a dish, traveling alone, or even learning your first English sentence. In the beginning, your hands were shaking, your heart was beating fast, your mind was full of worry. You thought about everything that could go wrong. But still, you tried. And after you did it, even if it wasn't perfect, you felt something change inside you. You felt a small spark of trust. That spark never disappeared. It is still there inside you. You just forgot how bright it was. Trusting yourself means accepting that you can figure things out. Maybe not immediately. Maybe not perfectly. But step by step, moment by moment, you will learn. You will improve. You will grow. And that is enough. You don't need to know the whole path. You don't need to see the whole future. You just need to trust that whatever comes, you will find your way. That is real strength. When people lose trust in themselves, they stop trying. They stop dreaming. They stop exploring. They say things like, I can't, it's too hard, I will fail, other people are better, I should not even try. But these words are not the truth. They are fear dressed as truth. And the more you listen to fear, the smaller your world becomes. But the moment you start trusting yourself again, the world opens up. You become curious. You become brave. You become ready for life. And this trust shows up in small moments. For example, when you hear an English sentence and you don't understand every word, but instead of feeling bad, you say, it's okay. I will catch the meaning soon. That is trust. When you speak English and make a mistake, but instead of feeling ashamed, you smile and continue. That is trust. When you practice a little bit each day, even on days when you are tired or busy, that is trust. Every small moment of trust makes you stronger. Now, I want you to imagine something. Imagine you are standing in front of a long bridge that leads to the life you want. A confident life, a peaceful life, a brave life. The bridge looks safe, but you feel afraid to take the first step. You look down. You look back. You think, what if I fall? What if I make a mistake? What if I am not ready? These thoughts are normal. Everyone has them. But then something inside you whispers, what if you don't fall? What if you succeed? What if this is the beginning of something beautiful? That whisper is your self-trust. Soft, gentle, full of hope. And then, slowly, you take one step. And nothing bad happens. Then another step. And you feel stronger. Another step. And you feel lighter. Soon, you are walking across the bridge with confidence. And the fear that once held you back begins to fade. This is what happens when you trust yourself. The path becomes clear. The fear becomes quiet. The dream becomes real. You know what many people forget? You have already survived so many difficult days. Days you thought you couldn't manage. Days that felt heavy. Days that felt impossible. But here you are. Still breathing. Still learning. Still moving forward. That means you have a strong heart. You have a strong mind. You have a strong spirit. You have enough proof to trust yourself. And now, as you listen to my voice, I want you to feel that trust growing inside you. Imagine it like warm sunlight touching your chest, warming your heart, making you feel safe and ready. This trust will guide you through your English journey. It will guide you through your personal journey. It will guide you into the life you want to create. You are becoming stronger. You are becoming wiser. You are becoming someone who knows their own path. And now, when you are ready, we will continue. The sun is fully awake now. The golden light fills the world like a gentle blessing, touching every leaf, every rooftop, every road, every quiet corner where someone is beginning their day. And as this light spreads, I want you to imagine it entering your heart too, slowly, softly, filling the dark places you usually ignore, warming the wounds you usually hide, brightening the dreams you usually delay. Because this section is about something powerful, something life-changing, something many people never do: choosing yourself. Choosing yourself does not mean being selfish. It means honoring your life, your dreams, your needs, your growth. It means saying, my life matters. My voice matters. My dreams matter. Many people spend years choosing everyone else: family, friends, society, expectations, and they forget to choose the one person who truly needs their love, themselves. But the moment you choose yourself, your whole life begins to move in a new direction. I want you to imagine a quiet truth. No one else can create your future. No one else can speak English for you. No one else can grow for you. No one else can walk your path. People may support you, but they cannot live your life. Only you can. And that is why choosing yourself is the first step toward every dream you have. Think of a time in your life when you wanted something deeply, maybe to learn English, maybe to travel, maybe to study, maybe to build something, maybe to become someone better. But you waited. You waited for the right moment. You waited for permission. You waited for someone to say, yes, do it. You waited because you didn't want to disappoint others. You waited because you were scared. You waited because you didn't trust yourself enough. And time passed. Days passed. Months passed. And your dream stayed silent. But the dream didn't die. It waited for you. It waited for the moment when you would finally turn around, look it in the eyes, and say, all right. I choose you. I choose me. That moment is not loud. It doesn't happen with fireworks or applause. Sometimes it happens while you are sitting alone in your room, thinking about your life. Sometimes it happens after a failure. Sometimes it happens after a small success. Sometimes it happens while listening to a voice, maybe even this voice, telling you that you are worth more than fear. Choosing yourself means deciding that you will no longer let fear make decisions for you. It means deciding that your dreams deserve a chance, even if you feel nervous. It means giving yourself permission to grow, to try, to fail, to learn, and to rise again. And when you choose yourself, something magical happens. The world around you changes. Not because the world becomes easier, but because you become stronger. You begin to notice opportunities you didn't see before. You begin to feel courage in places where you used to feel doubt. You begin to speak differently, walk differently, behave differently. People around you notice the change, even if you never talk about it. Now imagine this simple scene. You are walking in a crowded place, a market, a busy street, a train station, anywhere. There are hundreds of people around you. Everyone is living their own life, thinking their own thoughts, carrying their own dreams and fears. But among all these people, there is one person who matters the most in your journey. One person whose choices will change your future. One person who can open the door to your next chapter. That person is you. Not the crowd. Not the world. You. Choosing yourself means you finally become the driver of your own life. It means you stop waiting. It means you stop hiding. It means you stop repeating old fears. It means you stop saying, maybe later, maybe someday, maybe when I'm ready. The truth is, no one ever feels fully ready. People become ready by choosing themselves first. And choosing yourself also means forgiving yourself. Forgiving your past mistakes. Forgiving the times you were scared. Forgiving the years you wasted. Forgiving the chances you didn't take. Forgiving the person you used to be. That forgiveness is not weakness. It is freedom. And freedom is the soil where confidence grows. Think about how powerful your life becomes when you stop fighting with yourself, when you stop calling yourself names, when you stop judging your English, when you stop comparing your journey with others, when you stop saying I can't. Suddenly, your heart opens. Your mind becomes calm. Your path becomes clearer. And choosing yourself also means taking responsibility for your future. Not in a heavy way. Not in a stressful way. In a beautiful way. In a hopeful way. In a strong way. It means saying, if I want a better life, I will build it. If I want better English, I will practice. If I want confidence, I will take risks. If I want peace, I will protect my heart. Responsibility is not a burden. It is power. And the moment you choose yourself, your dreams begin to trust you. They begin to come closer. They begin to open their doors. They begin to feel possible. Because dreams do not belong to people who wait. Dreams belong to people who choose. So right now, as you listen to my voice, I want you to take a slow breath. Feel the air fill your body. Feel the warmth in your chest. That feeling is life. That feeling is possibility. That feeling is you choosing yourself. You are ready. You are worthy. You are capable. And when you're ready, we continue our journey together. And now, as the warm morning light touches everything around you, we reach the end of this long, peaceful journey together. But this ending is not really an ending. It is more like the soft closing of one door and the gentle opening of another. You have traveled through the night, through fear, through doubt, through hope, through belief, through trust, through transformation, and finally to this moment, the moment where you understand something important, something simple, something true. Your life can change when you believe in yourself, when you trust yourself, and when you choose yourself. Look at how far you have come. You listened with patience. You stayed with the story. You opened your heart. You let the words flow into you like sunlight. You practiced your English with calmness. You followed the journey step by step, slowly, clearly, gently. And by doing this, you proved something powerful. You are not someone who gives up. You are someone who continues. Someone who grows. Someone who wants a better life. And I want you to know something before we say goodbye. Everything you need is already inside you. The courage, the hope, the strength, the light, the dream, the belief. They are all there, waiting for you to use them. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to compare yourself with others. You only need to take small steps every day. Small steps create big change. Your English will grow. Your confidence will grow. Your life will grow. Because you are growing. Remember the quiet voice inside you, the one that says, you can do it. Keep going. Listen to that voice. Protect it. Trust it. Let it guide you through difficult days. Let it encourage you on good days. Let it shine inside you when the world feels dark. And whenever you feel lost, whenever you feel tired, whenever you feel unsure, come back to this journey. Come back to this feeling. Come back to this voice. Because you are never truly alone on your path. You have a future waiting for you. A brighter, calmer, stronger future. And every step you take brings you closer to it. So take a deep breath now. A slow, gentle breath. Feel the morning light in your chest. Feel the warm hope in your heart. Feel the soft strength in your body. This is your life. This is your journey. This is your moment. And you, yes, you are ready. Thank you for walking this long road with me today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for learning. Thank you for believing in yourself. This is the end of the story, but it is the beginning of your new chapter. From this moment forward, walk with courage. Walk with kindness. Walk with belief. And remember, I am always here to guide you on the fluent English journey whenever you need me.